All right, we got a great show, busy show planned today. We're going to jump right on the phone lines. And with us today from ALEC, which is the American Legislative Exchange Council, he is the Commerce, Insurance, and Economic Development Task Force Manager, Alan Jernigan. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So you recently did, there's a new a study that was released, States That Work, Labor Policy Roadmap Across America. Oregon ranked 48th in the nation. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Just to give a little background on the new report. So we took 10 of the key ALEC model policies focused in the labor reform space and just saw what each state built. So took all 10 rankings, really focused on which states are promoting worker freedom and flexibility and which ones are restricting that. Unfortunately, Oregon finished as 48 out of 50 in the new report. It was really telling on the fact that Oregon's not been opening the doors and giving those workers the freedom and flexibility to find their version of the American dream.
You know, and it's interesting. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, number one, being 48th is no surprise to us here in Oregon at this point. But the other part of it is I sit here and go, leadership in the state makes a big deal about how much they care about workers and how important it is they're raising the minimum wage as of today. And I'm sitting here going, so that kind of contradicts what the public image the Democrats want to portray to us here.
Absolutely. And things like raising the minimum wage, you know, it's really kind of restricts businesses' opportunities to give more opportunities to workers, especially looking at the California case study when they raised the fast food minimum wage, saw a big employment drop following that. So while it may seem great, it's one of those things that comes with the double-edged sword. There's a lot of goods and a lot of bads. But with the messaging side of things, you know, it really is truly just opening the doors so that those can do what they want, whether that be having an occupational licensing and be able to move into that state and get to work immediately, or whether it's the choice to join or financially support a union. You know, those are not freedoms that are given to workers.
That's interesting. And you talk about too, I mean, you know, despite we don't have a sales tax in Oregon, the booming tech center, I remember back in the day, way back in the day, Siltech Silicon was here. I worked for them for many, many years. It was one of the best places to work. They're gone. A lot of tech is starting to leave Oregon. So are you factoring in the fact that we've got businesses that are kind of getting out of Dodge here?
I think that's really telling, you know, just kind of looking at the rank and saying that somebody, kind of labor landscape country that it's no surprise that businesses are choosing those that advertise themselves and their workers.
So what Oregon can fix this though? It doesn't have to be this way. What can Oregon do? What kind of policies need to be enacted, and what kind of leadership do we need to see? Absolutely.
Well, I mean, the key is kind of going back to that worker freedom point, just giving the workers the flexibility to choose their work arrangement, kind of the choices of what they do with their salary, and really just having the choice and freedom to go do what's best for them and their family. I mean, as I mentioned earlier with occupational licenses, if people want to move into Oregon and have an occupational licensing, they've done the education, the testing, and all that from out of state. They don't have the easy pathway that several other states for their workers to get to not only get to work for themselves and their families, but also to contribute to the economy as a whole.
So if somebody with a license from, say, New Jersey moves over here, they have to get relicensed. They have to go through that all again here. It doesn't transfer.
Right. It's not automatically recognized. And that can, you know, especially for those that are kind of moving to start over and all that, that can be a really difficult process and really slow down their ability to keep working and start contributing to the economy and the community.
So I'm kind of going through this thing and I'm going, this state, especially, I mean, we were talking about it during this legislative session about these virtual pro-union, you know, almost forcing people to go into union. I mean, there was one that was floated out there that literally would make being a contract worker on a property virtually impossible to get hired in because they're so pro-union. So the problem is that we're so pro-union at the leadership level in the state that it's chasing workers out that don't want to be part of the union and made it very difficult to be a part or to not be a union member in this state is kind of where I'm getting out of that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like workers deserve the choice of, the choice of association. If they want to be in,
Yeah.
if they don't want to and don't want their money going towards that cause, they should also have the opportunity to opt out and kind of choose the path that's best for them. So that's definitely a trend. And, looking across the states, there are 26 right to work states across the country, and the lowest any of those states ranked in this report was 28. So it's truly telling that just that alone is really kind of separates pro worker from the rest.
So,
Who was number 50?
Number 50 was Alaska,
Oh,
which is kind of a surprising
yeah.
statistic, but just given their unique landscape and geographical location, lack of priority on the worker policies and the state is what led to them being ranked for the totem pole.
So yeah, so the union aspect of it here in Oregon plays a role. What other kind of major contributing factors are there? Because I'm kind of going, the way they present everything here in Oregon is unions are wonderful. You need to join a union, you'll get paid top dollar. Minimum wage is high, so you'll get, you'll be rich even if you're working fast food. And of course, we were the last state to kind of do away or at least limit the amount of people that were working remotely, which you think from a worker perspective, they always brag about how great it is that workers don't have to come into work here in Oregon because, we were one of the last with the COVID lockdowns, and it just kind of rolled into that. So I kind of am sitting here going, the way it was presented to us is everything is so amazing. But when you're looking at these statistics, we are once again right down at the bottom, which of course Denise and I recognize because we're realists instead of, emotionalists. But so what are some of the other aspects that have contributed us to being the 48th ranked state for our workers?
Yeah, so one of the biggest goals with the report was to do an overall snapshot, not just focusing on public sector workers or private sector workers or those independent contractors, those with licenses, but kind of get a little bit of all of it. So I think it's pretty telling that across the board, Oregon's failing their workers, and failing to give them the freedom and opportunity that they need to succeed. And then as a result, is limiting the economic mobility of the state as a whole.
So with the licensure, that's something that has to be handled at the legislative level?
Yes, a lot of it does. And there are certain policies throughout the publication, including just the Occupational Licensing Review Act, which quite simply creates the sunrise and sunset review process. Just to make sure that some of the occupational licensing regulations are still up to date and make sense while keeping in mind the health and safety of the public. But as times change and technology changes, some of those requirements do as well. So making sure that there's just some review so that out-of-date laws and regulations can get checked on and so that it's the most easygoing process for those that want to get an occupational license working.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you had any conversations with lawmakers out here in Oregon?
There've been a couple, and I know there's several that are trying to do great work in the state. But,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is just from the standpoint of making the point clear of, this is a worker. We're trying to, even though there's some government interference that you could argue is for the workers, at the end of the day, the best workers are those who have the individual right to choose how they want to go about their career in life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Alan, where can people, if that's intriguing, they want to learn more about this, where can they go to learn more about it?
Absolutely. The report's up on the ALEC website, so it's alec.org. And the report there, as well as some commentary, is all on the website. So definitely check it out.
Excellent.
So before we let you go, is there something in place here in Oregon that might help us make it a more worker friendly place, or is it a lot of it going to be at legislative level and something that we're not going to change very quickly?
No, I think a lot of it does come from the legislative level, but I think there's also opportunity for just kind of an ideological shift and turning that away from government interference to help people, let the people help themselves. I think at the end of the day, that's kind of the key finding of the report is, businesses want freedom to kind of choose their own path rather than being told what they can and can't do.
Yeah, yeah. Amen to that. Okay. On that note, Alan, we're out of time with you. Thank you again, Alan Jernigan from ALEC. Good information, Alan. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for having me.